Welcome from Colleyville, Texas. Texas is a state in South Central region of the United States at 268,596 square miles, 695,662 kilometers, with more than 30 million residents in 2022. It's the second largest U.S. state by both area after Alaska and population after California. Texas shares border with the state of Louisiana to the east, Arkansas to the northeast, Oklahoma to the north, New Mexico to the west, and the Mexican state of Chihuahua, Coahuila, Nuevo Leon, and Tamaulipas to the south-southwest, and has a coastline with the Gulf of Mexico to the southeast. Houston is the most populous city in Texas and the fourth largest in U.S. While San Antonio is the second most populous in the state and seventh largest in U.S., Dallas-Fort Worth and the Greater Houston are respectively the fourth and the fifth largest metropolitan statistical areas in the country. Other major cities include Austin capital, the second most populous state capital in the U.S., and El Paso. Texas' nickname, the Lone Star State, for its former started as an independent republic, as a reminder of the state's struggle for independence itself from Mexico. The Lone Star can be found on the Texas state flag or Texas state seal. The origin of Texas name is from Kettle word, Tesa meaning friends, due to its size and geologic features such as Eventhough. Texas contains diverse landscape common to both U.S. southern and southwestern regions. Although Texas is popularly associated with the U.S. southwestern deserts. Less than 10% of Texas land area is desert. Most of the population centers are prairie, grassland, forest, and coastline. Besides of this, its weather for four seasons in Texas of every single year is spring break, summer, hurricane, blizzard. The climate is super harsh for Texas state, but stays on way indoor without rigor to strive for states to be the second largest state, either strong territory, a strong business, or high technology in all aspects. Traveling from east to west, one can observe terrain that range from coastal swamp, piney good to rolling plain and rocket hill. Finally, the deserts and mountains of the Big Bend. The term of Six Flags over Texas refers to several nations that have ruled over the territory of Texas. The first Spain was the first European country to claim and control areas of Texas. The second French held a colony, and the third Mexico controlled territory of Texas until 1836, when Texas won its independence, becoming the Republic of Texas. In 1845, Texas joined the Union as a 28th TA state and a state and nation set of a chain of events that led to Mexican-American War. Texas declared secession from U.S. in early 1861 and officially joined the Confederate States of America on March the 2nd of the same year. After the Civil War and restoration of its representation in the federal government, Texas entered long periods of economic stagnation. Historically, four major industries shaped the Texas economy prior to the World War II: its cattle, bison, cotton, timber, and oil. Especially oil, or plexico industry that we knew. Before and after the U.S. Civil War, the cattle industry, which Texas came to dominate, was a major economic driver for the state and created the traditional image of the Texas cowboy. In the later 19th century, cotton and lumber grew to be major industry. As the cattle industry became less lucrative, it was ultimately thought the discovery of major petroleum deposits, Spindletop in particular, that initiated a new economic boom, which became the driving force behind the economy for much in Texas of the 20th century. We want to talk about the black gold, with another name of oil. Looks very edgy, stylish, giving jewelry a fresh and modern look that yellow gold cannot provide you. And if you still remember OPEC, organization in United Nations with inflation of oil in 1966 by Norway, well, foreign oil was more cost comparative value than US petroleum products, and that is the main reason his Texas state economy incredibly hard. Over inflated real estate market as a massive layoff background season and widespread foreclosures became commonplace throughout in 1980. That is the year when I was born. As you can see, the heat deep dive until 14 years of time, and now the same. If you still remember this case, you will do the same. That we need something changing to making the forward for surviving ourselves. Texas State news they cannot go on in one hand, just like if you want to be survive, you have to diversify. That is why its spring Texas State became a state develop a diversified economy and high technique, advanced technology about the industrial robotics, electronic industry, photonic industry, nuclear technology, quantum technology, intermediate technology, industrial design, list of emerging technology, semiconductor industry, big technology, and innovation. As of 2022, of Texas major industry about the tourism, agriculture, petrochemical, energy, computer, electronic, aerospace, biochemical science, including export the mainly products about the oil and gas, that are energy with renewable energy. In 2015, there was the most Fortune 500 company headquartered in United States with a growing base of industry. The state leads in many industries like Texas led the U.S. in state export revenue and has the second highest gross state product. Essentially participating in this process of securing the network together, you can see the new innovation of upgrading like Bitcoin mining. Talk about the Bitcoin miners, that is, can help you balance the electric grid of Texas, electric grid system like wave power, energy, or solar power energy system. It plays a big role to help balance the electric grid, and software blockchain can help ensure that miners are able to power on and off. Talk of the miners as small computers and ASIC miners to solve the problem, and then feed them into the Bitcoin network and receive the rewards when contributing computer power together. Because everyone is using the same software, and that allow them to connect together and participate in the governance structure that share in energy equal expenditure. This is the nature of technology to see the update and innovation. For driving margins and driving the cost of operation down in order to reap the rewards, that is a Bitcoin unit, BTC. That is one of a form digital currency that aims to eliminate the need for collateralized, such as banks or governments. Instead, Bitcoin uses blockchain technology to support peer-to-peer transaction between users on decentralized network like Ethereum, Tether, Square, BNB, XRP, Binance USD, Dogecoin, and even though that is an ApeCoin, Internet Computer, a cryptocurrency. Different thing about the crypto market cap. Meanwhile, for example, meanwhile, Ethereum is the unit to create energy for your system and upgrading your system, but Bitcoin is the reward that is unit to make balances our system energy grid in our Texas blockchain network technology. That is quite a different thing and incredibly innovation upgrading from Texas State today. And the number two I want to introduce you is about TMC innovation in Texas Medical Center today. You can see the new innovation of upgrading Greater Houston Partnership Medical Center. with the high technology of robotics for medical and chemistry laboratory and biochemical of biology with chemistry like TMC Innovation Factory said, and it will be opened in the next year 2023. We use blockchain technology that we created. Everything is up to you. You can use Bitcoin, you can use Ethereum, you can use Tether, you can use Binance's USD, you can use ApeCoin, you can use Dogecoin, and another different cryptocurrency unit that you like to make energy, to create your energy and upgrading your system. But first, there's the multi-advanced revolution of high technology to bring Texas State coming to future 21st century. Listen to our experts sharing the same story with you one more time. We hope we will hand on hand in the future and to provide AI and high-tech technology to our future and our next generation. Thank you so much for watching.
72% of Austin commuters drove alone, 10.4% used carpool, 6% worked from home, and only 5% used public transportation. Even though Austin is still very much car dependent, they're developing light rail systems now. Capital Metro Rail is a 32-mile commuter rail system which opened in 2010. Currently, the Capital Metro system consists of only one line, the Red Line. But in 2020, Capital Metro's $10 billion transit expansion plan was approved, and that means there's going to be 3 new light rail lines.
Texas has for many decades been a huge driving force of prosperity, not only for the people within the state, but also for all of the USA. The state provides over 40% of the oil production in the country, which is in turn the largest oil producing nation in the world. To give you an idea of just how massive this operation is, Texas produces more oil than Brazil and China combined. Home to the fastest growing population in all of the United States, which is being driven by the state attracting a range of new businesses which will work with this young new professional demographic to continue to grow a strong economy. Or at least, that's the theory. Has been its very different approach that it's taken in running its state as compared with its natural rival, California. Now, of course, Texas and California are both US states filled with American citizens who have a lot more in common than they probably realise. But on a few key issues, they are almost mirror images of one another. California is home to the highest state income taxes in the country. Texas has none. California has very strict controls around business operations, whereas Texas takes a much more hands-off approach. California is experiencing an outflow of workers, whereas Texas has the highest population growth of any state in the union. In many ways, this remained a huge driver of growth in Texas all the way up until the 1960s, when it actually stepped up a gear. This was the time when OPEC was founded, which was an international cartel of oil-producing nations that schemed to artificially raise the price of oil. Now, the USA, and by extension Texas, was not part of this little club, but that doesn't mean that they didn't benefit from it. Since this operation all worked to drive up the price of oil, Texas still stood to benefit because it no longer had to compete with international suppliers on price. This meant it was able to become the de facto oil supplier of the USA, which was quickly becoming a nation that was more and more thirsty for oil. This in isolation probably wouldn't have been a huge deal for Texas. They could just get away with selling less oil for more money and maintaining the status quo. The problem was that this newfound fuel efficiency came in conjunction with a shake-up of the OPEC model, as well as discoveries of oil in non-OPEC nations like Norway. I mean, come on Norway, why you gotta do Texas a dirty like this? What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, and Texas learnt a valuable lesson. Never go all in on a single hand, no matter how good the cards are that you've been dealt. With this, it decided to start efforts to attract something far more lucrative than black gold. Of Texas were no longer able to sustain the massive growth in the state's oil operations and overinflated real estate market. This hit the state incredibly hard, and massive layoffs, bankruptcies, and widespread foreclosures. However, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, and Texas learnt a valuable lesson. Never go all in on a single hand, no matter how good the cards are that you've been dealt. With this, it decided to start efforts to attract something far more lucrative than black gold. It went digging for business. In fact, with high taxes, high cost of living, bad traffic and earthquakes, it's kind of terrible. Nonetheless, if you want to get started and operate in the tech space, you need to be in Silicon Valley. But this has all slowly started to change. As Texas became less and less of an oil state, it made more room for businesses who were attracted to its otherwise enticing cities. If you were a senior manager for a company and you had the option of living in New York or Dallas, you would actually be very silly to pick New York, all other things being equal. A $600,000 house in Dallas looks like this. A $600,000 house in New York looks like this. And in the age of instant communication and cheap air travel, being out of the action isn't a huge deal. In fact, this location may be a blessing. Texas is currently the largest producer of renewable energy in all of the United States, despite having an almost limitless supply of fossil fuels that they could rely on. However, the embrace of new business and technology hasn't completely left the oil industry as a distant memory, but instead it has brought it into the modern day, possible for anyone else. Texas subsidises the state budget revenue that it foregoes with no income taxes by charging taxes on oil production.
$1 billion market cap this year. This has inspired some Bitcoin operations to expand, especially in the wake of the recent government crackdown of miners in China.
The ban on mining in China has caused a mass exodus to the United States, to Russia, and to any other areas where mining facilities are available.
Welcome to Rockdale, Texas, America's new crypto mining hub.
This building that's directly behind me, inside of the buildings, we have this shelving that's 1,000 feet long, 20 feet tall, and there are just miner after miner after miner after miner.
We went inside North America's largest Bitcoin mine to understand how it works and its energy footprint.
What is a miner? It is a small computer. They call it an ASIC miner. It is made to solve problems, and when they solve that problem, it feeds into the Bitcoin network. When it feeds into the Bitcoin network, you receive a reward.
To help us understand crypto's reward system a little better, we spoke to blockchain expert Bettina Warburg.
That's what mining is. It's a process by which people are contributing computing power and earning a reward for essentially participating in this process that secures a network. Everybody's using the same software that allows them to connect together and participate in a governance structure that's shared.
It seemed like only yesterday that one person with a handful of computers crunching numbers in their apartment could make money from mining Bitcoin. So how do we go from there to here?
Just like with many industries, you start small. The guy in the garage started the process. He mined Bitcoin. I believe the reward was around 50 Bitcoin for every block reward. Now it is at 6.25.
In some ways, cost equals energy expenditure. This is just the nature of technology. We see updates and innovation and people driving margin and driving their cost of operation down in order to reap the greatest reward. So you get mining operations that happen in places where power is less expensive.
Typically, mining operations go where energy is cheap. Right now, Texas has some of the lowest kilowatt-hour prices in America. That's due in part to a deregulated energy market, which means several providers compete to snag big customers like Windstone.
So there's environments like Iceland, Russia, China, Canada. Areas like Iceland and Canada have a cooler environment. There's probably less dust in those areas. The miners run at a cooler temperature.
Cryptocurrency is about the low-cost provider. Texas is becoming a hotbed for other cryptocurrency facilities.
In fact, Shenzhen-based Bitmining is coming to Texas, and Beijing-based Bitmain, a company that designs circuit chips for Bitcoin mining, is moving into the decaying aluminum plant down the road from Windstone. According to the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education, $1 worth of Bitcoin takes 17 megajoules of energy to mine. That's of energy it took back in the day to mine $1 worth of copper, gold, and platinum.
The machines require more power, and more power requires larger capacity, bigger transformers, higher voltage.
Ultimately, the energy intensiveness comes from the fact that solving these mathematical puzzles is challenging, and you have to expend a certain amount of compute power against it to be the fastest one to actually solve the puzzle. And putting as much computational energy into that challenge as possible increases your ability to actually win. It's intentionally inefficient.
Each building is 100 megawatts. For each 100 megawatt building, you can fit 30,000 new ASIC miners in it. In a Bitcoin mine, the consumption is basically taken by the miners. Each miner has about 3,000 watts that it's pulling. An older miner, an older generation, the S9, which was released in September 2017, was only pulling 1350. The miners now are at 3,000.
So, at capacity, this facility will have 750 megawatts of electricity flowing through it, enough to power 150,000 Texas homes during peak demand. That's a lot of juice. How do they manage to keep all those miners cool?
Our ideal goal is to keep the ambient temperature around 81 degrees. There's a lake about a mile from here, and so underground we have a 8-inch line with 1,000 GPM pump where we pump literally the water through this mile-long pipe into the facility, and it actually goes into holding tanks that then recirculate the water, and it pumps it back into these evaporative cooling walls that are 12 feet tall. Water is actually dripping down the wall of that evaporative cooling cell, and then as the air comes through it, it actually cools from 16 to 20 degrees difference between the front of the wall and the inside of the wall. The miners have fans, they have intake fans, and there's thousands of those fans running, and they actually suck the ambient air through the miner, and then there's an exhaust fan. It actually pushes the air through the chips and into the heat aisle. As it goes through the miner, it then heats up because the chips, it's a processing, so it gets really hot, and then we capture the heat on the inside of the heat wall, and then it is evacuated out of the building through a quote-unquote chimney-like environment.
Inside the heat aisle, it literally feels like an oven. One Windstone employee estimates that it can get as hot as 140 degrees Fahrenheit in here.
So the S9 has a hash rate of 13.5 terahash. The new S19s are 110 terahash.
Hash rate measures how many computations a miner can do, usually in a second. So, how much money can each miner potentially make each day?
Currently, a S19 with 110 terahash, the profitability every day for one machine is 30 USD.
Okay, so $30 times 30,000 miners times 2 big buildings, nearly $2 million a day for a facility this size.
We have a full staff of 120 employees. We work 24 hours a day, 3 shifts.
There are definitely some increased efficiencies on the horizon, such as faster processing chips for the miners, cooling them in immersion technology, but at approximately 73 terawatt hours annually, Bitcoin's energy consumption is more than the energy it takes to run every single television set in America.
I think ultimately the energy consumption question is a bit of a, what is it relative to? When we look at our financial system as a whole, or even just Wall Street, to power Wall Street, which runs almost entirely off of computation today anyway, and high frequency trading algorithms, when you look at mining just to earn Bitcoin, well, that's not necessarily so awesome.
According to the Digiconomist's Bitcoin Energy Consumption Index, one Bitcoin transaction takes more than 1,500 kilowatt hours to complete. That's more than 50 days of power for the average US household.
Bitcoin is what I like to think of as a calculator. So it's this sort of old school, very clunky system that gets the job done. When you look at what's happened with newer blockchains like Ethereum 2 and Definity, is that they've actually implemented a totally different system for essentially doing the same thing. And Ethereum is upgrading to a more energy efficient way of securing the network. And the future will be about a lot of these different internet computers battling it out for adoption. So you'll see Definity, Near, Flow, Polkadot, all kinds of networks really serving as the optimized internet computers. Ultimately, the value will come from the amount of applications and tools and things that you can build and do on top of this computing architecture. I think all technology creates energy consumption in certain patterns, and ultimately what we have to do is make sure that what we're building is something that's worthwhile and that we actually want in our society.
At Texas Instruments, our passion is to create a better world by making electronics more affordable through semiconductors. As the building blocks of modern electronics, our semiconductor technologies help customers develop solutions to the world's toughest challenges, enabling smart medical devices, automated factories, more efficient appliances, and making vehicle electrification possible. Each electronic device you interact with could have tens, hundreds, or even thousands of chips inside, translating signals from the physical universe into digital data and back again, adding intelligence and new functionality to things we use every day. And all of this is possible because companies like TI have been engineering progress for decades. The chip that Jack built changed the world forever. Radar systems were made more reliable. Spacecraft were built with smaller, lighter, more dependable components. Computing power that once cost millions became more powerful, affordable, and could fit in your pocket. Through decades of progress, our innovations continued to make electronics more accessible to more people. And today, semiconductors are so affordable that they're being added to everything. Home automation makes the places we live more convenient, energy efficient, and safe. Portable medical devices monitor and transmit vital health data in real time. Cars equipped with sensing technology make driving safer than ever before. Industrial robotics make factories safer and increase productivity. Entire cities are smarter, more efficient, and more connected. Where we were once limited by technology, we are now limited only by imagination. At TI, our passion is to create a better world by making electronics more affordable through semiconductors. We think of it as engineering progress. We've been doing it for decades. We continue today, and we can't wait for tomorrow.
The Nabisco Cookie Factory was built in 1949 and stretches nearly a quarter of a mile. This factory produced Oreos, Fig Newtons, and Chips Ahoy for the southern United States. Today, the TMC Innovation Factory produces new medical devices, new cancer therapies, and digital technologies that transform the way we care for patients. Dr. Tom Luby heads the TMC Innovation Factory. Here, we are dedicated to assisting emerging companies in their journey to bring new technologies to market. We have relationships with all of the TMC institutions and partnerships with several countries around the world. We have brought over 300 companies through our Health Tech Accelerator in the past 7 years, and we typically have about 50 companies in residence throughout the year. TMC has formed many partnerships with industry. ABB is a robotics company that has built its only healthcare research and development site in the world here at TMC Innovation Factory. ABB works with all TMC institutions to better understand how robots can remove high-volume, repetitive, and critical tasks in the hospital and research labs. Here you see our robot named Yumi, processing lab samples at a rate 50% faster than a human, with the added benefit that Yumi also works 24 hours a day. Together, we envision robots supporting our clinicians and researchers throughout TMC. We also run the TMC Biodesign Program, where we recruit and assemble multidisciplinary teams from around the world and place them in our hospitals to identify new opportunities to advance medicine. These solutions can be new advanced medical devices or digital technology that advances patient care. We also have an accelerator for cancer therapeutics program that is funded through CPRIT, which supports the development of novel cancer therapeutics throughout the state of Texas. As we continue our journey, you will see that we have a space developed for co-working where our companies can reside in their early days of maturation. In addition, we have built space where our partners can office and help support the growth of our startup community. As we traverse down the hall, we come to one of the most special medical device makers space in the world. It is the J&J Center for Device Innovation, which is led by world-renowned heart surgeon and serial entrepreneur, Dr. Billy Cohn. This 26,000 square foot facility was designed to provide all of the tools necessary to imagine, design, build, and test medical devices, including 3D printers and scanners, laser cutters, and even a virtual reality room to see the product in the operating theater. CDI has developed many novel devices which are now moving through the regulatory path to commercialization. Finally, we are extremely excited to announce the TMC Innovation Factory Labs. We are building out 100,000 square feet of wet labs to support emerging life science companies that are developing novel therapies and bioprinting new organs. These labs will open in January of 2023 and are already in high demand. What was once a Nabisco cookie factory is now the global accelerator that drives TMC's diverse alliance of early-stage innovators. The TMC Innovation Factory empowers entrepreneurs from across the world to push the limits of discovery and bring their solutions to life faster.
Just believe we can do it. Thank you so much for watching.